Hi, my name is Lori Naramore. In the unit on women and the home and family, we watched the movie Steel Magnolias, and we read several very interesting articles. Now, as we review Unit 8, I would first like to look at the 1971 article, I Want a Wife, by Judy Cyphers Brady. This 47-year-old article gives a humorous account of all the daily responsibilities that belong to the average wife and mother of that day. These responsibilities included working and sending her husband to school, keeping track of doctor and dentist appointments for her entire family, making sure the children eat properly and are kept clean, washing and mending the clothes, arranging for children's schooling and making sure they have adequate social life, cleaning, cooking, taking care of the children when they're sick, losing time at work while not losing the job. The list goes on, but you get the idea. Please keep in mind this was not just a housewife, but this wife also worked outside of the home. Classmate responses to this article included such things as, "It seems as though women were servants," "Women are given too many roles and jobs as a wife," and "The man seems to see his wife as an object that could be discarded and replaced." Someone else mentioned that while the wife did everything for the family, the man still held the power, and how that the stereotype of a wife robs women of their identities. Women no longer identify as themselves, but only as someone's wife. So, have things changed since the 1970s? Well, all of these ideas have not completely vanished, but they were much more prevalent 50 years ago than they are now. The number of women in the paid workforce has increased greatly over the past 50 years. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, the percentage of women with children under the age of 3 who were in the workforce in 1975 was about 30%, but that number has grown to almost 65% in 2016. While the percentage of women with children between the ages of 16 and 17 years was 75% in 2016. In an article from TheGuardian.com entitled, "What Do You Mean the Good Old Days?" author Jessica Mann discussed some of the challenges working women faced as they were expected to maintain traditional levels of housework as described in the 1989 book, The Second Shift, by sociologist Arlie Hochschild. The second shift is defined as the unpaid work for caring for others inside the home, in addition to the job a woman has for pay. In a 2016 HuffingtonPost.com article entitled, "Unequal Housework Could Be Damaging Women's Health," author Anna Almendrala said Hochschild described women's working achievements as a stalled revolution, because men's leisure time was more valued than women's. Well, this resulted in unequal division of domestic labor among the couples she interviewed for her book, despite the fact that both spouses had jobs and career ambitions. I would like to touch on the previous statement about leisure time. Using the definition of time explicitly devoted to recreational activities or relaxation, studies find that fathers with children under the age of 18 living at home have an average of 3 hours of more leisure time than mothers each week. This study came from an article from the Pew Research Center at pewresearch.org entitled, "The Leisure Gap Between Mothers and Fathers." The author, Wendy Wong, went on to say that while both parents spend some of their leisure time in front of the television, fathers spend more time playing sports or exercising, and mothers spend more time in social activities such as attending or hosting parties. I would argue that hosting a party would not be considered leisure time for me. While I do enjoy having guests over for dinner, it's very stressful to clean house and cook for guests. Well, the study went on to say that mothers feel more exhausted and feel more stressed during their leisure time, and that a mother's leisure time is often interrupted. This comes as no surprise to me. Getting back to the unequal divisions of domestic labor, in her Unequal Housework article, Amendrala explains that millennial couples are equal in theory, but unequal in practice. Even though the risks of working long hours may not be the same for millennials because of changing views on the division of household chores, the U.S. is still in a transitional stage when it comes to domestic equality. Quoting Almendrala, for example, a modern heterosexual couple may agree in theory that all household tasks should be split evenly, but despite the fact that men are definitely stepping up more at home, the most up-to-date studies show that women still shoulder most domestic tasks, especially where children are concerned. This also is not a surprise. In fact, I know 2 young millennial families who have small children, and although the husband helps out a great deal, and the wives say that things are 50-50 at home, it seems that the majority of time spent away from the office taking care of a sick child still falls mainly to the wife. My daughter is an excellent example. She has 2 young children and a third on the way, and while her husband helps out as much as he can, although neither of them would say it's 50-50 at home, my son-in-law is the one who's growing his career in education, and he's receiving his master's degree soon. So my daughter is the one who has to pick up the slack, whether it's leaving work early to care for a sick child, or taking a child to soccer practice because her husband has class. She is the main caregiver for the children. From the Guardian.com article, author Jessica Mann references a 2014 report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, where men work a slightly longer workday at the office, but where women work another 2.8 hours per day on household activities and caring for family members, compared to the 1.7 hours where men helped in these areas. Women also spent more than twice as much time every day making food and cleaning, and more than 4 times as much time doing laundry. In her article, Almendrala discusses how this second shift work can increase disease risk for women, diseases including diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, and certain types of cancer. These higher disease risks were not found among the men. Almendrala also mentions a study by Allard Denby from Ohio State, indicating that corporations need to learn more about the detrimental health effects of working long hours, and they should consider adopting new work schedules that emphasize flexibility, control over one's hours, and shorter hours overall. Denby suggested that family-friendly policies be created to help improve conditions at home. Policies such as flex time for working mothers and working fathers. In the 2012 article that we were assigned to read, entitled "Why Women Still Can't Have It All," published in The Atlantic by Anne-Marie Slaughter, we see that women continue to struggle in the area of work and home life balance, and that this is one of the most pressing women's issues of today. Slaughter points out that women are expected to make compromises are far less likely to be required to make. Quoting Slaughter, "Professional men and women have different expectations of how they should balance family life and professional career. U.S. modern culture tells women that we have to have it all in the sense of career and family. It expects too much out of women while expecting much less out of men." In response, one of my classmates wisely said, "Women cannot do it all." So while it's been ingrained in our minds that we can and have to do it all, I think that one of the hardest lessons we as women have to learn and realize is that we cannot do it all. It's a very difficult lesson to learn. I know from experience, as I'm the worst at overextending myself. Another classmate said that Slaughter's argument about women and men being able to have it all was very important, because if everyone is pushing for more flexibility in raising a family, then everyone benefiting to balance home and work instead of having to choose one over the other. Quoting Slaughter, "If more women could strike this balance, more women would reach leadership positions. And if more women were in leadership, they could make it easier for women to stay in the workforce. There are currently not very many women in high power positions, which means that there are not many women experiencing the difficulties of balancing a high power job and a family. But if we can get more women into these positions of power, women who are pushing for policies that will make it easier for employees to balance work and family lives, then it will be easier for future women to rise to positions of power that hold more flexibility. Thank you.